Salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. We welcome you here for this program. Inshallah, I'll hand over the stage to Brother Ahmed, who's going to walk you through his program. But in terms of housekeeping, can I request of the sisters, if they want to move forward, once the brother is done with his prayers, you can move this side, come closer so you can listen and interact, and if you have any questions, you can ask questions. Inshallah. With this, I hand over the mic to Brother Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum. Sisters, you can come forward if you would like to on this side. Inshallah, it's cleared for the sisters. You can sit forward here, inshallah. Good to start?
That goes red. When we start streaming, that goes red.
Right, so we're ready? Now? All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Come on, guys, louder. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The younger ones. MashaAllah, great gathering on a Friday night. Jazakumullah khair for being here today. Bismillah, Allahumma shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Inshallah, we will start with a talk about the Muslim youth in America in general, the United States or the North America. And then we're going to take that as a lead to discuss the initiative that I'm bringing to you today, which is the Marvels of IR. So Bismillah, we'll start with an assessment of the Islam in America in general. And you can divide the Muslim waves in America into 3 or 5. In my opinion, they are 3 major movements or 3 major waves of Muslims in America. This is the first one. The first Muslim wave came early on, can be traced to colonial America. And they came in the form of enslaved African Muslims that were brought into the United States or the Americans as slaves. The key element to keep in mind about this wave is that early on it was very recognized that Muslims are different. They had rituals, they had culture, they had intellect, they had dietary requirements that were different than the others, African people that were brought here as slaves. But over time, the Muslim identity of that wave started to vanish because the enslaved community became incorporated to whatever the community in America was. And eventually, many of them turned to Christianity or abandoned the deen. And so by the end of the 19th century, we can say that the signs of Islam in America completely disappeared. This is a picture of Omar ibn Sa'id, and this is a Muslim that was brought and enslaved from Senegal. And he was born in 1770, and it is evidence that he was able to maintain and continue on his deen for decades while he was being enslaved. But the pressure and the weakness of the Muslim Ummah in the United States at that time could not sustain Islam as a religion for the generations to come. Come the second Muslim wave. So as Islam was fading from the former slaves or slaves communities towards the end of the 19th century, immigrants started coming to the United States in millions. And among these millions, thousands came from Muslim majority countries. So as Islam, subhanAllah, as Islam faded in those early communities, Islam started to rise in those immigrant communities as they came to the US. This is a picture of what is believed the first the first mosque in the United States in Chicago, 1893. But see the gap here. This is the first masjid, and then the following one comes in Michigan, 1921. That's more than 25 years later that we see the second masjid. Now, the problem about this wave is that over time it got evolved into more of a national movement, and the Muslim identity again got lost in these coming generations. Muslims have been having a great role in the civil rights movement and the civil rights era in the United States, but eventually the identity for the second time, so this is wave number one, this is wave number two, for the second time the identity is lost throughout the community. And the reason why we're saying it's lost is that if the identity continued, we should see today Muslims of the 20th or the 30th generation, right? Their 30th grandfather or grandmother should have been Muslims. They don't exist. But you can see last names that can be traced to Muslim identities. All right. Then come the third wave, and I consider ourselves as part of this wave. That third wave came in the late 20th century, early 21st century, and continues to happen. A large flux of Muslims immigrated to the United States, late 1900s, early 2000s. We started seeing a lot of masajid. We started seeing a lot of schools. We started seeing a lot of Muslims with the concept and the idea that I want to maintain my deen. I want to preserve my identity. I want my children to continue to be Muslims. I'm not abandoning my religion that I'm here in the United States. But the problem is, I consider the early attempts of this wave as also a failure. I'll say why. Let's do a quick test here. I'm an immigrant. I came to the US in 2011 from a country of a majority of Muslims, from Egypt. My son is a first-generation Muslim, and he's still growing, right? He's 10 years old, and my daughter is 7, and I have a baby. She's 2. She's looking at me in the back. Now, let's have this test. How many of us here, if you are an immigrant, like you came to the US as a Muslim, raise your hand. Immigrants only. All right, so I would say maybe 1/5 of the attendance, or maybe 2/5. Let's say 1/3 of the attendance from what I'm seeing. We're not going to count. Okay. First generation Muslims. I was born here as a Muslim. My father was a Muslim, or my mother was a Muslim. The numbers are going down, right? I have like, what, 10 hands up? 11 maybe? All right, second generations. My grandfather, grandmothers are Muslims, and I'm still a Muslim. Younger kids now. We're talking about what, 7, 6 years old? 4, 5 hands? All right, how about the 4th generation? How about the 5th generation? It is gone. Should we have a 4th and 5th generation today in the masjid? Yes, because Muslims came early on. They came in the 60s, in the 50s. So why don't we have these people around us as Muslims today? Because the identity got lost. And this is what we, as adults and youth right now, with this opportunity in the US, are striving to do. This is what this masjid and the different masajid and the different Islamic centers are trying to fix. Because I cannot imagine if any of us would ask themselves the question, if you know for sure that your grandchild will know nothing about Islam, will you be able to sleep at night? Just face that fact. Reflect on it for a moment. And maybe your grandchild or grandchild, who knows when is it going to happen. I would like today to do everything I can to make sure that my impact goes to those generations that will come from me and they continue to become Muslims in this country. All right, so Muslim youth issues have been vetted and discussed so many times, and for so many years we're trying to see, what do we do? How do we attract the Muslims, youth? How do we bring them to the masjid? How do we make them continue on this deen? You know, and these items I bring up here, the Muslim identity, the community challenge, the professional needs, and the technology, are just 4 of those. What I want to focus on today is the technology and the professional needs. We are good at addressing the religious needs, you know, the Sunday schools, the Islamic schools, the teachings, the halaqat, these things. But as the young professionals grow, their needs change. They need to find the tools to survive in this community, in this society. They need to take what they learn at college. They need to take what they learn at school. And at those places, Islam is not really a big factor. So over time, they tend to lose that identity, right? They look at the role models, this guy who accomplished so and so, or this guy who is in that company, the CEO of Microsoft, the CEO of Google. Who are these guys, right? How can I look up to those? And they don't see Muslims among any of those. So the question I will ask here is, how do I impact my children and grandchildren and the generations to come? And I will suggest a very simple formula. I like to discuss the example and the model of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim did two things, two main things. He worked for the next generations, and he made dua for the next generations. He couldn't have impacted the generations to come like 5, 6 generations later because he would pass away, right? So he's not there to be in their lives, and we're not going to be there in their lives. But he did these two main things. وإذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. He raised the foundation of the deen, the Kaaba, the foundation of Islam, and built it for these generations to come. On the other hand, he made dua. ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. So he did the work and he did the dua. He didn't just do one of them. The outcomes, if we look at them, we have 3 successive prophet generations, right? His son is the prophet, his grandson is the prophet, and his grandson is a prophet. This is success. In my opinion, if you look at it, it is success, right? On the other hand, those are all descendants of Ishaq alayhi salam. On the other hand, you see Ismail alayhi salam, his descendant is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So as the ummah later on deviated from following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as the Kaaba started being surrounded by idols and people worshipping other gods beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah sent the correction with that prophet from that same generation, from that same lineage, the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. The conclusion from this is that I cannot just only make dua and I cannot just only do work. I have to do both of them. Every single one of us today has to do both of them if we want to have an impact on the generations to come. Because I'm pretty sure I can impact my son. Maybe I would doubt I can impact my grandson, but beyond that, I'm not going to even be there. I don't think I'm going to be in their lives. Like I can keep up with the technology and keep up with the knowledge and keep up with the needs for the grandchildren, but beyond that, I don't think so. So if we don't build a generation of those youth to carry that message and do that work, then Islam will go into the failure of the waves we discussed. It will just vanish in a few years. It will revive again from the immigrants, like that's how we have been seeing, but that's not what we want. We want Islam to be part of this society, of this community. All right, so without further ado, what is the Marvels project? We wanna, let's unite our ummah. This is the concept of the Marvels. The Marvels, let me give you a little background. There's something called the Itqan Institute, who was founded by this brother, Dr. Muhammad Abaida, and he is a research scientist at Sandia National Labs. So he struggled for years to get his initiatives to the masajid, going to one masjid and the next one and the next one. I want to build a robotics program. Okay, I mean, who is interested? We want to focus on the schools. Great, I mean, that's good, but I want to do technology. People were not listening. He took his time, and eventually this all grew up very fast in the last year. We can only have 8 chapters, and this one in Raleigh is one of them. And then look at the awards that they got last year. 10 awards from the FTC, and I'll talk about that later, the first technical challenge. A world record that the team held for 7 weeks. Wide recognition in Texas politicians. Have you ever seen that? Have you seen a politician in our area coming to the masjid to congratulate us on something or try to be involved or associated with us? Doesn't happen. Actually, politicians try to, when it comes to elections time, they try to stay away because the Muslim community is not that impactful or have the ability to help them succeed. But they were able to change that in Texas. And then an article in the Texas Morning News about that. So this is the accomplishment of the Marvels, actually one Marvels team in the last year. That's just one. Now we have 8, and there's more coming in the US and outside of the US. So what is the concept here? Muslim Ummah has always been a strong Ummah, has always been a leader in technology for over 1,000 years. We're not living this today, I understand, but we have had many scientists and many Muslims lead the world in the medieval times, right? We want to create and expand a network of the Muslim STEM robotics teams that are hosted in the Islamic institutions. We are all connected. The Marvels of IAR, the Marvels of X, the Marvels of Y, all of us are working together. Yes, we're competing in the same competition, but we are working together to build this network and benefit each other. Our mission is big. Our mission is not just build a team. It is restore the Muslims' role in the community as technology leaders. There was a time where Muslims were the technology leaders in the world. We're not anymore. We want to bring this back together as an ummah. Our goal, we want to collaborate, we want to empower, we want to replicate the success. That success that happened in Dallas, we want it here, and we want it there, and we want it everywhere, because every masjid is capable and every community is capable of doing that. And then the method is the first robotics, technical, and the Lego competitions. I will get to that in a few slides. All right. Enough about hearing from me. I want you to hear from the youth. I want you to hear from those kids who actually did the accomplishment in Texas and they lived it themselves.
This is the first ever league in North Texas hosted by an Islamic community, and I think that says a lot about America. So to you I say, Assalamu alaikum, let's begin.
Today we are at our first competition ever as a rookie team. I think we did pretty good. We were hit by all sorts of difficulties, all sorts of problems. We could definitely make a lot of improvements in the future. This team was founded by Dr. Muhammad Ibega. His purpose that he always tells us, and it's ingrained into us now, is to first acquire the technical knowledge of the future by ourselves, the spirit of Muslim youth in the unified nation in America, and then second, to spread that knowledge to other people. Part of our portfolio includes a lot of outreach that we do. We go to other masajid, we go to other Islamic centers, and we do events where we share our work with other Muslim youth just like us. One thing that I've learned for sure is patience and self-confidence.
The reason that we made this group and the reason that I think that there should be more groups like this is to spread STEM to all parts of the world, and more specifically, our goal is to spread STEM within our own Muslim community. Being there and actually going through the STEM, being involved with all of those programs and processes is a lot more difficult than it is. So we want to inspire people and motivate them to actually get into the STEM field a lot more than it is now. I think an important life lesson to learn is that at the end of the day, that there's always a bigger fish. There's always someone that is better than you at something. And the smallest things can make the biggest difference. So if you're interested in robotics or even anything STEM related, you should try to reach out to us or even try to create your own program where you live.
Joining a robotics team has a lot of benefits, not only with hard skills like programming and building, but they also have a lot of soft skills such as communication and teamwork and cooperation. Generally, joining the robotics can benefit you in any field. And the world, honestly, is gearing more and more towards STEM professions. So getting involved as a kid is becoming more and more encouraged, and it's going to just put you way more ahead in life than you would be without a program like this.
YouTube, but the concept here is that we're seeing young faces representing their team in multiple conferences in multiple places. They're being invited by other institutions, Muslims and non-Muslims. Come show us your success. Come show us how did you do that. Texas is a very competitive place for this competition. And so for one team to grow from 1 year in 1 year and accomplish all of that, it was a struggle. They were like, how did you do that? We want to learn from you. They turned their institution into a place where the other organizations, being Muslims or non-Muslims, are coming to learn from them. How do we do robotics? How do we do technology? How do we do coding? So why Marvels? And this is a part of what I'm talking about today. This is a contribution effort by many people in many teams in many masajid. So this came up last night, like this division of Marvels. And what is Marvels? This is one brother in one of the institutions said, well, I will think about it, and I divide this Marvels into motivation, achievements, research, volunteering, excellence, leadership, and society. These are his thoughts. We're going to work together. We're going to adopt that. We're going to develop that. Motivation. How are we motivated? We have an ummah that led the world in technology for more than 1,000 years. There's no better motivation than that. We want to bring this back to the world. What about the achievements? Well, I just showed you some of them. In under 2 years, they were able to accomplish a lot. They were able to have the papers write about them. The politicians contact them and learn from what they did. Research. Our work is obviously about technology and research. We are unlocking the ability and the doors for the young kids to be able to do that research early on. Volunteering. The whole team, everywhere, everybody's volunteer. Everybody in this masjid or any other masjid from the Marvels are volunteers, and we're all working together towards that one united goal. Let's revive the role of our ummah. Excellence. Muslims strive for excellence in anything we do, and this is part of it. Leadership. We are building the leaders in technology to be Muslims, to lead the technology and lead our ummah, because this is how our ummah can survive and continue in this country. And then society. Our impacts will be seen in the local society. But by the way, we can be doing something today that is impacting a society in Australia or Indonesia or anywhere else in the world. The brother Dr. Ubaida was just telling me that he had people contact him from Pakistan and from other countries where they are going to poor villages and teaching the kids. They want to learn from that and they want to implement it there. So our impact as a Muslim ummah does not know borders, does not know cities, does not know any of that. We are one ummah and we strive for excellence in everything we do. So to wrap up this part, inshallah, the competition, the first competition has 2 main divisions, and there is a third one for a higher age that we're not targeting yet. There's the FTC, the first technical challenge, that's for kids 12 to 16. And they do something more advanced. You see the robots you saw in the video and how they're complicated. They build things that they have to design themselves. And then the first Lego League is more for a younger age. This is a Lego-based design for a robot. They still design the robot, they still code it, but it's not that complex as the other level. Both exist and both compete, and we're going to have a team in FTC and probably 1 or 2 teams in the FLL. What is the impact on the youth? Well, they learn programming, they learn robot design, they learn marketing, outreach. Those kids you saw in the video, they didn't become speakers like that in a day and night. They learned this in the process. Public speaking, outreach, 3D modeling, leadership, and teamwork. The question is, how can I help, right? And that's where I'm here today. Now, 3 aspects, right? If you can help with any of these areas, join us as a coach. I'm not looking for software developers only. I'm looking for mechanical engineers. We're building robots. We need that expertise. I'm looking for marketing people. I'm looking for business people. I'm looking for project managers. I'm looking for people who are able to train the children to do that. Let's keep in mind that the whole competition revolves around the children. They design the robot. They code the robot. They talk about their work. They are the ones leading all of this. We are here to inspire, teach, and coach and learn. So if you have any of those skills in your professional experience, join us as a coach. Then sign up as a team member. Your children, right? Anybody in the youth in the back or here in front of me, please join us. You want to learn this? You want to compete? You want to build a better future for yourself and your ummah? Join us as a team member. We are going through the interviews, inshallah, this Sunday. There could be another time for interviews if you couldn't catch it, but we're going to interview everybody because we want to build a strong team that next year will take this to a higher level. Next year, we don't have to be here. Those children will be the coaches for the other teams, inshallah. And then finally, sponsors. This is going to cost a lot of money to build the robot, to buy the parts, and all of these things. So if you have a business and you want to benefit from that, we're going to be going around. We're going to be presenting this in multiple places. Sponsor us. Invest in this team. Invest in the Muslim community, but also invest in your business because people will see that, and you could have a benefit from that, inshallah. So for more information, this is my email address, and at this point, I just want to open the floor for questions. If anybody has questions, how to sign up or anything about the presentation I just had. Jazakumullah khair. What is the requirements for the young kids? Yes, so the question from the brother was about the requirement for the kids. The requirement is their passion and commitment to do that. I don't have any other requirements. So if a child has a background in coding or software, he will be part of the software part. If they are passionate about building things, they will be the builders building the robot. If they want to do marketing, we have all aspects. So the requirement is just the commitment. That's it. But I will say also that part of our conditions is that the parents have, or one at least of the parents have to be committed with the child. This is not a program where you drop off your child and just go do your business. We want you because we need you. We need your expertise and your professional help with that. So up to 50% of your time, time, inshallah. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. What is the parent time commitment or the child time commitment?
The child or the parent?
Both, right? I mean,
Both.
if you want the parent to be there, then it's going to be both.
Yes, let me answer that. Let me focus on the child commitment and then the parent. So that child commitment, we are planning to meet weekly, inshallah, for about 4 to 5 hours. We're going to do that in the weekend, and we're going to continue to do that. This is my experience from what the Marvels there had to do. We could need less time, we could need more time, it just depends. And then the competition progresses. As it progresses, we qualify, we go through the qualifiers. There are going to be times where we're going to need more time or less time, inshallah. The parent, I'm not asking the parents to attend all the time or be present for all of it, but I'm asking for at least 50% of that.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is good program. Question, do you require parents to have experience in coding and robotics or not?
No. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As I mentioned, we need parents with diverse backgrounds, right? So we will need whatever you do as a professional job will probably have something that can help us here. Whether it's a software development, marketing, business, medical field, whatever you do, we will talk about it and see what can you teach the children to support that. This team in Texas grew up to 40 people working together to get this done. So it's not just about software and robotics.
Okay, a follow-up question. Can you speak to the cost of the program?
The cost is free. We're not charging the parents or the children for this, but we are charging you the commitment, the time. You don't have to pay for it.
Sister, any questions?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. When did the program start and how long the duration?
Inshallah, we're going through the interviews to finalize the team during this weekend and probably the following one. The competition itself will be announced tomorrow for the FTC and the next week for the FLL. The program itself runs through the competition all the way to, I believe, June of next year. But it depends also whether or not we make it through the qualifiers. So the main bulk of all of this is in January and February, where the qualifiers happen, and hopefully, inshallah, we make it to the regionals, to the state, and probably to the nationals at the end, inshallah. Yes. How many? How many what? For the FTC competition, the maximum is 15. We're gonna shoot for a team of 25 because we understand when you get to that time, maybe people will not have the time. So 25 kids in the FTC, which is the 12 to 16. The FLL teams, they need to be smaller, so we're gonna have 2 teams of 6 each. 12, yes. Yes, actually.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother, this is very, very good and useful program. Thank you for bringing to us. Jazakallah khair. My question is, you said would be the weekend. Would we meet like both days, or is just one?
We're starting with 1 day.
And how do we sign up?
There's a sign-up link on the website.
Jazakallah khair.
And I think Sister Tara should have like a QR code outside where you can sign up, inshallah. Brother. I think the brother has a question there. Brother Mustafa is going to ask the question now. Is actually one of our coaches, so he signed up already.
Assalamu alaikum. So I'm a coach. I might be a little biased here, but so my question is, if I'm a 7 to 16-year-old kid, how good would this look on my resume?
How will what?
How good would this look on my resume?
It will look very good. I would like to share resources, inshallah, with people about this competition. It's very well known. We're talking internships, we're talking scholarships, we're talking a lot of things. We're talking companies who know, tech companies who know that those who participate in this in a young age are the people that they're looking for. And so if we even make it, inshallah, to the nationals and we go compete there, the companies are there sitting and recruiting children for internships and for scholarships as well as colleges. Any more questions, inshallah? Okay, the sister has.
And the information is on the website, so you can go and register from there.
The sister has a question here. I'm sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is, it's like I'm looking at where you apply, and it says about how you work with other masjids, multiple masjids. Are you gonna do like a meetup with these masajids across the USA, or like how are you integrating that? And
we don't necessarily meet in the earlier stage of the competition, so we're working remotely right now. So we're all connected through a network with the coaches, and then the children will talk to each other. So the children in that team will be talking to the children in this team, and so on. But then every team has to qualify in the regionals in their state first before they can compete nationally. So the team in Texas will be there, the team in North Carolina will be there, and so on. Other masajid in the area here, if they decide to join, then we'll have an opportunity where we can have meets together, kind of like friendly matches to check on our robots and our abilities. So I know AIC started a team, so at least we have 2 in this area right now.
another question is, because my son have been in this like since he was very young, but it was in his school, and I was just kind of wondering where this club will be, because in his school, the table, you know, logistically it cannot be touched, because if it's moved a little bit, sometimes the programming won't work. So is there like a space in the IAR that you're gonna do this at, or
yes,
like how are you gonna do it?
There is a space that we're gonna use for this. As far as the table has to stay as is and cannot be touched, we can work around that. And the experience from that team in Dallas, they didn't have a dedicated space. They set up the lab and removed it every time. So we will struggle with the space, understandably, all over the Muslim institutions. It's not a problem here only, but we have a plan for that, and we have a team that have done it before. All right. Other questions, or shall we conclude, inshallah? All right. right. Jazakumullah khair. Again, you can write the email if you need to. Email me any questions and I'll reach out either with the links or more information. Jazakumullah khairan.